Well, hello, and welcome to my latest video, second video of the day. God, what's going on? It's movie review time. Yeah, I haven't done a movie review for a long time, but what am I talking about? A Complete Unknown, directed by James Mangold and starring Timothy Chalamet as Bob Dylan. What's it like? Is it any good? Should you spend your money, stick around, and you'll find out. Now, first things first. One of the earliest scenes in the film is Timothy Chalamet arrives in New York to visit Woody Guthrie, who's in hospital, and he plays him a song to Woody, I believe it is. And Timothy Chalamet, well, he looks like Bob Dylan. He plays guitar like Bob Dylan. He sings like Bob Dylan. He talks like Bob Dylan. He plays harmonica like Bob Dylan. The man is Bob Dylan. His performance is uncanny. Now, as it happens, I was in that hospital in 1960. I was working as a porter. I happened to be in the room at the time that Bob Dylan arrived and played this song for Woody Guthrie. So I can vouch for how good Timothy Chalamet actually is. But what about the film itself? Well, the first thing I think is, are you a Dylan fan? Okay, do you know your Dylan? Do you love your Dylan music? Do you know your Dylan biography? Now, most people, not everybody, but most people of my age and older will know something, probably quite a lot, probably a lot more than me, about Bob Dylan. And so you go to this film in a couple of ways. You might go because you're an absolute Dylan nerd and you watch this film to pick holes in it and find fault with the chronology, or you say, oh no, he never plucked his guitar like that, or he never wore a cap of that colour, or that's the wrong shirt. You may be like that. You may be like me. You love Dylan, you love Dylan's music, you know quite a lot about his life, but you're not really a Dylan nerd. And the third type of person who goes is somebody who doesn't really know very much about Dylan. And to my mind, this film is not for that person. If you don't know much about Dylan, if you're a young person who's not really interested in Dylan, I don't see that there's much in this film for you. But if you're a Dylan fan, there is a hell of a lot in this film for you. Now, it's not a biography as such. It's a series of episodes, vignettes, if you like, that are put together to create a story. Now, a friend of mine who went to see it thought it was a bit too vignette-y and not enough of a kind of story arc. I see where he's coming from, but I'm not sure I quite agree. I'm not sure there's another way that you could do it other than string together a series of vignettes, because they're trying to take a period of Dylan's life, which is essentially between 1960 and 1965, and it's when he went from being a folk singer to being a rock singer, if you like. In other words, he went electric. And when you get to the end of the film and you see that it's based on a book called Dylan Goes Electric, then it all kind of makes sense. So it's really about the transition of Dylan from a hick. The hick, is that it, from Minnesota, I think he is, the Robert Zimmerman, who comes to New York. He's about 20 years old. He's got his guitar. He gets straight into the folk scene, and then he becomes, if you like, the Bob Dylan that we know and love. And he goes electric, and the film charts his appearance at various Newport folk festivals, including the famous one in 1965 when he went electric, and lots of the audience booed and weren't happy about it. Now, Dylan is obviously the lead character. There's a couple of other lead characters. Edward Norton, who plays Pete Seeger. I thought Pete Seeger's role in this film was a bit too big. Whether that's because it's Edward Norton, I'm not sure. I know Pete Seeger did play a part in Dylan's life. How big a part, I don't know. I'm not that Dylan nerd, don't forget. His relationship with Joan Baez, and I forget who plays Joan Baez. She plays her quite well. She sings quite well. I didn't quite get the relationship between the two. And then the other main character, I suppose, is Dylan's one of his earliest girlfriends, whose name was Susie Rotolo, and lots of Dylan fans will know a lot about Susie Rotolo. She is the girl who you see on the cover of the freewheeling Bob Dylan walking down the street with Bob Dylan. I understand, being quite a good friend of Dylan, because he told me this, that he did not want Susie Rotolo's real name used in this film, so she is renamed as a girl called Sylvie. And the thing about Susie Rotolo, again, that Dylan nerds will know this, is that she did not want to be a string on Dylan's guitar. So they had a relationship and they broke up. Now, Dylan in this film is shown as being fairly cruel to Susie Rotolo, or Sylvie, if you like. Whether it was like that in real life, I don't know. My understanding is that Susie Rotolo broke off the relationship because she didn't want to be just another string on Dylan's guitar, but who knows? She plays it quite well. I forget what the actress's name is. I'll look it up and put it down in the credits after the film, as it were. Another main character, Woody Guthrie. You may know Woody Guthrie was in the hospital suffering from Huntington's chorea, which is what subsequently killed him. So he is unable to speak and makes kind of gestures in the hospital. And there is a scene towards the end, and I don't think this is a spoiler alert. After Dylan's appeared at the famous 1965 Newport Festival, where he's being booed for going electric, he goes back to see Woody Guthrie. So the film is kind of bookended with that beginning scene where he visits Guthrie in the hospital, and then it ends with that scene when he goes back to see Woody Guthrie, and he has a harmonica which Woody Guthrie has lent him, but Dylan gives it back to him, and Woody Guthrie says, no, you keep it. Or he doesn't actually say it like that because he's unable to speak, but you kind of get the message. So what is the film? Well, the thing about the film is that Timothée Chalamet's performance is so good, it's enough to make you forget that you are watching a performance. He's not karaokeing Bob Dylan. He's not imitating Bob Dylan. He is singing Bob Dylan as Bob Dylan would sing it, but in Timothée Chalamet's voice. Does that make sense? It's an extraordinary, I think, realistic portrayal. But the other thing I think about Dylan, and again, I may be completely wrong about this, but my feeling about Dylan is that he is one of the few artists where everything he has to say is in his music, right? He has never, to my knowledge, given any kind of political statements. He has given some interviews. He tends to be quite amusing in his interviews, but he doesn't give a great deal away, and what he does give away is not necessarily true. So in terms of making a film about him, he hasn't, again, I think, lived a particularly dramatic life. He's been married a few times. He's had a couple of kids. He had his famous motorcycle accident in 1967 or 68. But in terms of drama to build a film out, there isn't a lot of drama in Dylan's life. So what they've done with this film is to try and create that drama about when he goes electric. And yes, the drama was there, and to create a story arc out of it. And they do it very well. There's a couple of scenes. One scene in particular, many Dylan aficionados will know the story of Al Cooper in Highway 61, Like a Rolling Stone. Al Cooper turned up, wanted to play guitar. Mike Bloomfield was already playing guitar. Al Cooper said, well, I'll sit down at the keyboard, and he played some lines. And if you're familiar with Like a Rolling Stone, and if you're a Dylan fan, you will be, you'll know how important that organ sound was to that particular song. Now, a couple of bits. There are a couple of bits that jar a bit. There is a scene, or there is supposedly a scene in the film that is completely invented. And one of the joys of watching the film is trying to work out which scene it is. I won't tell you what I think it is. I won't tell you what my friend thinks it is, because that is a piece of fun that you can have if you go and see the film yourself. And I think, having said at the beginning, I'm not sure there's much in this film for a young person, a 16-year-old who's come from a Marvel film or Nosferatu and thinks, oh, I know, I'll go and see A Complete Unknown. I'm not sure. I may be wrong. I mean, I would say go and see it. Turn yourself on to Bob Dylan's music. Find out what made him a Nobel Prize winner. Find out what turned him in to the Dylan superstar. Yeah, he's a superstar, I suppose. What turned him into the person that he is today. And if you know something about Dylan, or you like Dylan's music, or you're interested in Dylan's life, or you've grown up with Dylan, then go and see this film, and go and see it because it's about Dylan. Go and see it because of Timothée Chalamet's performance. Go and see it because the music is sublime. Go and see it because you'll love it. So, what's it like? It's a great film. Should you go and see it? Absolutely. Is it worth the money? Every penny of it. And as the man says, once you've seen it, go see it again. Thanks for watching. See you next time.